In recognition of World Mental Health Day, Central Hudson welcomes in the Dutchess County Mental Health Commissioner, Jean Marie Niebuhr, for a conversation on mental health and the resources available for anyone who needs them. And good afternoon, thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
So to start us off, could you please introduce yourself and briefly explain what the Dutchess County Department of Mental Health is and what they do?
Sure. So my name's Jean Marie Niebuhr. I'm a trained clinical social worker. As the commissioner of the Department of Mental Health for Dutchess County, we're charged with developing a system of care that helps to reach every individual in Dutchess County regardless of what their needs are. So that could be services for children and youth, it could be services for families, for adults, it could be services for mental health treatment and substance use treatment, also for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities.
What are some of the challenges that we're seeing in the community, and how have those changed over the years?
So it's a really good question. There's quite a few challenges right now. I think as many people are aware, since COVID, there's been an increased need for services, right? So during COVID, there was a lot of social isolation, and we know that social isolation is one thing that's very difficult for people to navigate. People are social animals, so when we're isolated, people tend to get more depressed. So we definitely have seen an increase in demand for mental health services. We've also seen that demand coupled with a reduction in service providers. So we're having right now a real challenge filling positions across the county, and this isn't just in Dutchess County, it's across New York State, it's across the country. There's a real need for more mental health providers to meet the demand. So those two things, the increased demand and the reduced number of providers, has created a situation where it can be very difficult to access the help that you need sometimes.
You mentioned the social isolation of COVID, but with COVID also came economic challenges that are still very much present. Mm-hmm. Did that also feed into or increase the need for mental health services?
Absolutely, and you know, the impact of the economy has been proven over the years to impact individuals' mental health. You can see it, the data bears it out. We know that financial challenges are a really big factor in people's mental health. So individuals who are struggling financially are at greater risk, right? Or people who have lost employment, those folks are at greater risk for developing some mental health challenges. And you know, at this juncture, I would also say that struggling with mental health condition, be it depression or anxiety, or even something perhaps more serious, is very, very common. And one of the things we're trying to do is reduce stigma by talking about that. So the more we talk about it and the more we educate people that there is just such commonality with this, we think more people will really try to get help, and we think ultimately that will save lives.
How do these mental health issues impact the community at large?
Oftentimes, we sort of fraction people off, right? Like you go to your cardiologist for your heart health, you go to an endocrinologist if you have diabetes, and you go to a mental health therapist if you have a mental health condition. But we were really trying to talk about now the whole individual, right? So if we think about the whole individual and every single person in the community having all aspects of these things, well, we talk about mental wellness, right? So not even just like a mental health problem or a challenge, but everyone has what we would consider mental health, right? And so it's everyone's responsibility to try to take care of themselves and each other to make sure that we're all getting as well as we possibly can. So if there's struggles going on and there's you know, challenges trying to access service, that can have an impact on the whole community, especially when it comes to talking about youth. So youth, right now we're trying to build services for youth, increase access services for youth, because we had seen, even prior to COVID, a decline in the mental health of our youth, and then COVID really seemed to have exacerbated that. So we see a lot of young people really struggling right now. And so trying to increase service access for young people is also very important. So I guess to answer your question, it's really there, it doesn't discriminate, right? It's across all demographics, all economic states, all ages. Everyone in the community is impacted in one way or another by mental health.
What resources are available for someone who is struggling?
So every county has different services available. So I'll speak a little bit to what we have available in Dutchess, but also that for folks to know that services are available in every county. We have contract partners that we use to deliver most services throughout the community. So we have there's individual therapy for adults and children. There's group therapy. There's psychiatric services. There's inpatient and outpatient mental health and substance use treatment. I would also talk a little bit right now about some things that are specific to Dutchess County that can be very helpful in a time of need. The first one is our 988 call center. So we have a call center right here in Poughkeepsie that is answered by mostly Dutchess County residents, so they're familiar with the area. And if you have an 845 area code and you call 988 from an 845 area code, you will get a local person who has really very deep knowledge of our system. So you can call 988, talk to a mental health professional 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and they will be able to guide you to the next step. So whether it's you or if you're concerned about a family member or a friend or a loved one, you can call 988 and get access to a mental health professional 24 hours a day in order to get some guidance on what the next steps might be.
And 988, while we have local Dutchess County offices, that's available more broadly throughout the state?
Absolutely. 988 is a national number, so actually no matter where you are in the country, you can dial 988 from a phone and get connected with a mental health professional.
Excellent. What else is, any other resources that you want to talk about? I know the county recently opened up an empowerment center. Can you speak to what that is and if there's anything else that you want to highlight?
Sure. So the Empowerment Center recently opened. We had a ribbon cutting not that long ago, is available for individuals who are looking for assistance with mental health or substance use recovery. The services there are delivered by peers, and what that means is these are individuals who themselves are in recovery, and so people who go to the Empowerment Center are able to meet with individuals who have had these kinds of experiences themselves. So their perspective is unique, because when they meet with an individual, they can really say, I've been there too, I know what you're going through, or I've been through something similar, or here's how I can help because I'm familiar with this. So it's very powerful for the individuals who utilize that service. There's drop-in hours, so there's times during the week that you could just stop in and meet with someone, or you can call the Empowerment Center. We also offer other kinds of things at the Empowerment Center. They do activities. Sometimes they go out and do some outreach in the community. That happens pretty regularly. So there's that at the Empowerment Center as well. We also have the Stabilization Center, and that's a very important one for everybody to remember. The Stabilization Center is for people who are in any kind of mental health or substance use crisis, any age, regardless of ability to pay. A person can come into the Dutchess County Stabilization Center and meet with peers and mental health professionals right as they walk in the door. So there's no wait time. There's no sitting, and if anyone has ever been to the emergency room, sometimes you have to sit and wait to be seen. There's none of that at the Stabilization Center. So an individual, and again, open 24 hours to everybody, can come in and get immediate support and help. And the plan really is for individuals, they can stay up to 24 hours, and when they leave, they're leaving with a plan in hand. So they're leaving with an appointment for a therapist, or they're leaving with a connection to a substance use provider, or perhaps they're being transported from the Stabilization Center to an inpatient substance use facility if that's what's needed. So that center really is the hub of help and support in person in Dutchess County.
Okay, great. What are some of the signs that we can look for in a loved one who may be struggling from mental health or who may benefit from assistance?
Oftentimes what we see when an individual starts to struggle is a change in their presentation, right? So what that means is, for example, perhaps this person always comes to your house for Sunday dinner, right? You make a really good spaghetti and meatballs, and they're always coming over for that. But all of a sudden, they start to withdraw a little bit, and they're saying no to doing that. And it might, not always just around food, but even other things. Like this is someone who would normally come and be social with you, but stops coming out. You're just starting to notice some changes. Perhaps the person's more quiet, just not engaging in the way that they used to, maybe not returning calls. Perhaps missing work, calling in sick. Those are some things that we would look for that could indicate that something is changing. And I would say many people have an internal sense when somebody's just not quite who they normally are. They seem a little off, right? But oftentimes we'll say to ourselves, oh, I'm sure they'll be fine, or oh, they're probably just going through something, right? And we wouldn't necessarily say something. We don't want to be intrusive. But those are the kinds of things that we would look for, change from their regular behavior.
Advising someone to seek help could be really difficult. That's a hard conversation. What is your advice for starting that conversation in a way that could be productive and helpful?
So there's actually some trainings available specific to this, and many of them are offered right here in Dutchess County for free. So there's a couple of trainings called Question, Persuade, or Refer, or Mental Health First Aid. There's a few of them. And what those trainings do is teach people in general the skills that they need to have this conversation, because it is extremely hard to do. And I just want to sort of restate that. This is not an easy conversation to have, but we do know that having these difficult conversations with people really does save lives. So what I would suggest is start with something called an I statement. So you could say something like, I've noticed that you used to come to my house every Sunday for dinner, but you've stopped. Is everything okay? Is there anything I can do? That kind of question. Or another example would be, hey, I noticed you used to come out after work with us all the time, and you don't do that anymore. What's going on? And assuming this is going to be somebody that you already have a relationship with, so you're going to put your own spin on it. You're going to use your words, but what you're really looking to do is sort of observe, like make an observation about what's changed about the person, but in a way that expresses compassion and concern.
Okay.
What you want to try to stay away from is something that's like accusatory, like, you never come out with us anymore. We don't want to, that kind of thing, because that could just make the person feel worse.
Okay. So demonstrate compassion, demonstrate concern, but the I statements help have ownership? Is that what makes it softens the blow, I guess?
Yeah, it's just sort of more like something you've noticed,
okay.
right? Something that the person may notice as well. And so then the next step is, once you're starting to have a conversation, if you start to become concerned that the person might be suicidal, it's really important to actually ask that question. And that's when the conversation becomes even harder, right? So now not only are you talking about the fact that you're concerned about a person's well-being, but you're asking them the very difficult question of, have you ever had thoughts of suicide? And that's what these trainings really do more specifically. But just as a short version of that, you can ask the question either directly by saying, are you having thoughts of suicide? Or rather indirectly by saying something like, some people who are in situations such as yours have thought about ending their lives. Have you ever had thoughts like that? Something like that. But I think the thing to really reinforce here is that having those conversations is very important. Most people who are in crisis or feeling suicidal in any way are looking for an avenue to have that conversation. So they're feeling kind of ambivalent about the thoughts that they're having, and are really looking for someone who is able to have that conversation with them.
Okay. Well, thank you. That was very insightful. I appreciate you spending time with us.
Sure. My pleasure.
And thank you to everyone at the county for help making this possible. I hope everyone found this insightful and informative. Thank you.